Hi, I'm Maria. Before I continue, please like and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated with more stories like mine. Life as a nurse is never boring, and neither is being a mom of two. Every day, I switch roles from caring for patients to nurturing my kids, especially my teenager, Emily. At 16, she's at that age where boundaries are constantly tested, and every no feels like a challenge. Despite the occasional teen drama, I've always believed in fostering a home environment built on honesty and accountability. One crisp Thursday evening, after a long shift at the hospital, I returned home to the usual chaos. Dinner half prepared, homework papers scattered everywhere, and Emily glued to her phone, texting nonstop on the couch. It wasn't until I went to my bedroom to put away the day's tips that I noticed something was off. My wallet felt lighter. A couple of $100 were missing, the kind of money you don't just misplace. I walked back to the living room and casually asked, Em, have you seen some money I left in my purse? It seems to be missing. Emily barely glanced up from her phone, her voice hesitant. I meant to ask you about that. I needed some cash for a school project. You took it without asking, Emily. My tone was more of disappointment than anger. She sighed a little too dramatically. Mom, it was urgent and you were at work. I was going to tell you. That's not how we handle urgent matters, Emily. We don't just take things, I replied, trying to stay calm. You're grounded for the weekend. No going out with your friends. But that's so unfair, Emily protested, jumping to her feet. It's just money, and I was going to tell you. It's not about the money, Em. It's about trust and respect. The argument escalated as her protests grew louder, but I stood firm. Grounding her felt like a mild punishment for breaking trust. Later, as I prepared dinner, trying to shake off the weight of our confrontation, Rick stormed in. His face was dark with anger, a look I knew all too well. You're grounding her for taking a little cash? Seriously, Maria? Rick's voice was steeped in disbelief as he threw his keys on the table. It's not about the amount, Rick. It's about honesty and consequences, I countered, feeling the tension rise between us. That's just your way of controlling her, like you try to control everything in this house. I sighed, trying to keep my cool. This isn't about control. It's about teaching our daughter the right values. Rick scoffed, pacing back and forth. Oh, and you're the perfect role model by what? Grounding her over every little mistake. Every little mistake. Emily admitted she took the money without asking. That's not a little mistake, that's stealing. He stopped pacing and glared at me. And you think you're perfect? Never done anything wrong. I shook my head, frustrated. This isn't about me. Why do you always make it about anything but the issue at hand? Because you make everything about rules and punishments. Maybe if you weren't so harsh, she wouldn't feel the need to hide things from us. Or maybe she would understand boundaries and respect if her father supported her mother in disciplining her when it's necessary. Rick's face turned red, his breathing grew heavier. You're turning my kids against me, Maria. You're painting me as the bad guy because I don't jump on your strict parenting bandwagon. Nobody is turning anyone against you. You're doing that all by yourself by undermining me in front of them. That's because you're unreasonable, he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. You want to control everything and everyone. That's not true, and deep down you know it. I'm trying to be a responsible parent, Rick. By what? Alienating your daughter? You think she's going to trust you? After this, I felt a pang in my heart. I'm her mother. It's my job to teach her right from wrong, and it's my job to protect her from your extreme measures. Extreme? Teaching our daughter that actions have consequences is extreme now. Rick's voice rose, and he looked like he was about to explode. You're impossible. And you're not helping by arguing with every decision I make, I shot back. Suddenly, his hand flew out, striking me across the face. The force knocked me back, and pain radiated from my cheek. For a moment, there was stunned silence as we both realized what had just happened. I touched my cheek, the sting sharp and immediate. You hit me. Rick's eyes widened, perhaps surprised by his own actions. Maria, I didn't. You did. I interrupted, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. You just hit me. Our younger son, Jacob, peeked from behind the hallway corner, his eyes wide. Mom, are you okay? I quickly wiped my face, trying to shield him from any more of this ugliness. Yes, honey, I'm fine. Go back to your room, please. Jacob hesitated, his gaze shifting between Rick and me. "Jacob, please," I urged, my voice softer. Reluctantly, he turned and disappeared back into his room. Turning back to Rick, I found my voice firmer, more determined. "This can't go on. You need help. Rick, you can't just." He cut me off, his own voice breaking. "Maria, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me, but—" "Sorry isn't enough this time," I said quietly, the resolve building inside me. "This changes everything." As Rick stood there, looking lost and confused, I knew that this moment was a turning point. I needed to protect myself and my children, no matter what that meant for the future of our family. Sitting in the break room at the hospital, I poured my heart out to Linda, my colleague and closest confidant. The walls adorned with health posters felt like they were closing in on me as I recounted last night's horror. "Rick hit me, Linda, right in front of Jacob," I whispered, the words heavy with shame and disbelief. Linda's expression hardened. "This has gone too far, Maria. You can't let him get away with this." "I know, but I feel so lost. It's like I don't even know who he is anymore," I admitted, the confusion and hurt swirling inside me. "It's not just last night, is it? There have been other signs, haven't there?" Linda's voice was gentle, coaxing the buried truths out of me. I nodded, memories flooding back. There were times when he'd lose his temper over nothing. He'd decide things without asking me, convincing me it was for the best. "And you believed him because you wanted to keep the peace," Linda concluded. "Exactly. I thought they were isolated incidents, but now, seeing them all together." I trailed off, the pattern too clear to ignore. Linda leaned forward, her resolve palpable. "You need to document everything, Maria. Every incident, no matter how small it seemed at the time." Taking her advice to heart, I started gathering every piece of evidence I could find. I spoke to Emily and Jacob, who reluctantly shared their own observations of their father's erratic behavior. Emily confessed, "He always said it was our little secret, not to upset you with the small stuff." And by small stuff, he meant his bursts of anger. I pressed gently. Emily nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I didn't want to make things worse, Mom." Realizing the extent of Rick's manipulation, I felt a surge of protectiveness. "This ends now. We're safer knowing the truth." I dug deeper, finding emails where Rick had belittled my concerns about family finances or decisions about the kids' education. Each email, each testimonial from my children, added to the growing dossier of Rick's controlling nature. Back at work, I showed Linda my findings. She pored over the documents with a furrowed brow. "This is more than enough for a strong case against him, Maria. Whether it's for custody, a restraining order, or whatever you decide you need." "I just want to keep my children safe," I said, my voice firm with newfound determination. "And you will," Linda assured me. "You're doing the right thing. Gathering all this shows you're not just reacting to one bad night, you're responding to a pattern of behavior that's harmful to you and your kids." Empowered by Linda's support and the evidence laid out before me, I knew I was on the right path. I knew what I had to do next. The road ahead would be tough, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like I wasn't walking it alone. The truth about Rick, once obscured by the facade of a temper barely kept in check, was now starkly clear. With that clarity came the path forward to protect my family and end the cycle of manipulation and fear. Armed with the truth and a folder thick with evidence, I confronted Rick in our living room, a space that had seen both the joys and shadows of our family life. "Rick, we need to talk about what's been happening," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "This can't continue, not just for my sake, but for our children's." He looked at me, wary but defiant. "What are you talking about, Maria?" "The manipulation, the anger, the assault," I said, laying the papers on the coffee table. "It all ends today." He scoffed, glancing at the documents. "You think you can just end things, just like that?" "Yes, Rick, just like that." I was firm, my resolve unshakable. "I'm filing for divorce, and I've spoken to a lawyer. Everything, your actions, your words, they are all documented." Rick's face paled. "You're serious?" "Very serious," I replied. "I've tolerated enough for the sake of what I thought was a partnership, but that's not what this is." As the reality settled in for him, I continued, "I've also shared everything with the people who needed to know, your colleagues, our neighbors. Not to slander you, but to protect myself and our kids." "You wouldn't dare," he said, his voice a mix of disbelief and anger. I already have, and the community has been more supportive than you think. I added, the strength of the collective backing me felt empowering. In the following days, Rick faced the consequences. His workplace conducted its own inquiry, and the disdain from our community was palpable. Friends we had known for years looked at him differently. Whispers followed him around, and his professional reputation took a hit from which it wouldn't easily recover. During this time, I worked on securing a stable and peaceful environment for Emily and Jacob. The local community center provided resources, and neighbors who once only greeted us in passing came forward with meals, words of support, and offers to help with the kids. One evening, sitting in the quiet of a home that no longer housed fear, I reflected on the journey. The peace was new, delicate, but promising. I watched Emily and Jacob playing in the yard, their laughter a balm to the many wounds we'd endured. I realized then, looking at their carefree smiles, that this was what liberation felt like. It wasn't just the absence of Rick and his oppressive shadow, but the presence of community, of hope, and the reclaiming of my own strength. In that moment, I knew we were going to be okay. Better than okay. We were going to thrive. The struggle had been harrowing, the decisions painful but necessary. As I watched my children play, I felt a profound sense of triumph. This wasn't just a victory for me, but for Emily and Jacob too. We had escaped a cycle of toxicity, and while the road ahead would have its own challenges, we would face them as a family of three, supported by a community that had shown us we were not alone. Rick's downfall was of his own making, his actions the architect of his demise. As he faced the cold reality of his choices, I embraced the warmth of a new beginning, surrounded by love and support. For the first time in a long time, I looked toward the future with hope, not fear, confident in the knowledge that we had not just survived, but were finally free to live. That brings us to the end of Maria's journey as she rebuilds her life with her children and finds support in her community. It raises an important question about handling toxic relationships, especially when they're within the family. What would you do if you were in Maria's position? Would you take the same steps or handle it differently? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. It's crucial to talk about these situations openly to help others who might be facing similar challenges. Your input can make a big difference. And if you found this story compelling, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more discussions like this. Your support helps us keep these important conversations going. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to your comments.